There is a wood growing in the overgrown fence rows of the American Midwest that can destroy chainsaws. If you strike a seasoned post of this timber with a standard axe, the steel is likely to bounce off, ringing like a struck bell, or simply shatter in your hands. It burns so hot, generating nearly 33 million BTUs per cord, that it has been known to warp cast iron stoves and cracked chimney flue if not mixed with lesser, cooler burning timbers like oak or pine. This is not some exotic mahogany imported from a rainforest. It is a native tree often ignored or cursed by modern farmers as a trash tree. But before the age of cheap steel and disposable pine, this tree was the backbone of the American frontier. Fence posts cut from this timber before the Civil War are still standing today, gray and weathered, but solid as rock beneath the soil line. While modern pressure-treated lumber rots away in a fraction of a human lifetime, leaching chemicals into the ground, this wood remains untouched by termites. Impervious to fungus and harder than white oak, it is biological steel. This is the story of the Osage Orange, scientifically known as Maclura pomifera, the tree that built the borders of the West, saved the soil during the Dust Bowl, and was then erased by industrial convenience. Welcome to the Lost Pantry. If you believe that the technologies of the past hold the keys to a resilient future, make sure to like this video and subscribe. You have likely seen Osage Orange littering the ground, neon green, softball-sized, wrinkled spheres that look like alien brains. They are heavy, sticky with white latex, and have a faint, pleasant citrus smell. In the modern wild, almost nothing eats them. Squirrels might tear them apart to get at the seeds buried deep inside, but the fruit itself, the fleshy pulp, simply sits there and rots. But a fruit that no one eats is an evolutionary failure. So why does the Osage Orange produce it? The answer is that the tree is a ghost. It is waiting for a partner that no longer exists. 13,000 years ago, the North American continent was populated by megafauna, the giant ground sloth, a creature the size of an elephant capable of standing on its hind legs, and the Columbian mammoth roamed these lands. Evolutionary biologists have determined that the Osage Orange evolved specifically for these giants. The tough, milky fruit was designed to be crushed by massive molars, the seeds passing through their digestive tracts and being deposited miles away in a pile of fertilizer. When the megafauna went extinct at the end of the Pliocene era, the Osage Orange was stranded. Without its distributors, it retreated to a small, isolated range in the Red River Valley of Texas, Oklahoma, and Arkansas. It should have gone extinct, but then a new partner arrived: humans. The indigenous tribes of the southern plains, particularly the Osage, the Comanche, and the Kaya, did not eat the fruit, but they recognized the wood as a treasure. The French trappers who later encountered these tribes called the tree badark, wood of the bow. This wood possesses a unique combination of extreme hardness and elasticity. A bow made from Osage Orange could snap an arrow with terrifying velocity without breaking under the tension. In the early 19th century, a well-crafted Osage bow was the most valuable trade item on the plains, worth a good horse and a blanket. It was superior to the famous English yew. The tree had found its new purpose. It was the supreme weapon of the frontier. As European settlers began to push westward in the mid-1800s, they encountered a problem that stalled the expansion of America: the prairie. In the East, if you wanted to claim land, you built a fence out of the stones you cleared from the field or the trees you cut down. But on the Great Plains, there were no stones. There were no forests. Music, there was only endless grass. Without a way to fence in livestock or protect crops from roaming herds, settlement was impossible. Enter Professor Jonathan Baldwin Turner. In the 1840s, Turner began campaigning for a solution that sounded radical. He called it the living hedge. He identified the Osage Orange as the only plant tough enough to survive the brutal winters, scorching summers, and high winds of the Midwest. Between 1840 and 1870, this became the greatest terraforming project in American history. Millions of Osage Orange seeds were harvested and sold for as much as $50 a bushel. An absolute fortune in those days. Farmers planted them in tight rows, but they did not just let them grow. They used a technique called plashing. When the saplings were a few years old, the farmer would partially cut the trunk and bend it over, weaving it into the neighbor tree. The tree would not die. It would heal into a gnarled, impenetrable mesh. As the branches grew up, they were pruned back, forcing the growth outward. The result was a living wall. The Osage Orange produces thorns that are needle-sharp and strong enough to puncture leather boots. A mature Osage hedge was described by the United States Department of Agriculture as horse-high, bull-strong, and pig-tight. No livestock could push through it, no wild animal could cross it. It was windbreak, fence, and firewood source, Alanone. By 1860, tens of thousands of miles of Osage hedge crisscrossed the Midwest. If you look at aerial maps of Kansas or Missouri today, the grid pattern you see was often defined by these very trees. They were the infrastructure that allowed agriculture to exist on the plains. So how did such a useful tree become a nuisance? In Dalb, Illinois, in 1873, a man named Joseph Glidden attended a county fair and saw a demonstration of a wooden rail with nails protruding from it. It gave him an idea. The following year, 1874, Glidden patented the winter barbed wire. It was the first practical mass-reducible steel fencing. The shift was instantaneous. To grow an Osage fence took 3 to 5 years of labor, pruning, and patience. It operated on biological time. To string barbed wire took a week. It operated on industrial time. Barbed wire was dubbed the devil's music rope. But it won the market because it was cheap and fast. The living walls were abandoned. Without the annual pruning, the hedges grew wild. The trees shot up to 60 feet tall, their branches spreading out and shading the crops they were meant to protect. Then came the internal combustion engine. In the 1920s, as tractors replaced horses, the Osage Orange became an enemy. The thorns, which had once helped deter bulls, were now a problem that punctured rubber tires. The wood was so hard that clearing the hedge was grueling work that broke axes and dulled saws. The narrative shifted. What had been essential infrastructure became a nuisance weed. Agricultural extension offices advised farmers to bulldoze the hedges to make room for larger, unbroken fields. But nature has a way of reminding us why we need her. In the 1930s, the bill for industrial convenience came due. Decades of deep plowing music and the removal of trees triggered the Dust Bowl. The topsoil of the American Midwest, no longer anchored by deep roots or protected from the wind, simply blew away. In a panic, the federal government under Franklin D. Roosevelt launched the Prairie States Forestry Project in 1934. The goal was to plant a great wall of trees, a shelter belt stretching from North Dakota to Texas to break the wind and save the soil. When the forestry experts looked for a tree that could survive the drought, the heat, and the neglect, they turned back to the Osage Orange. It became the most valuable plant of the Shelter Belt Project. While other trees died in the harsh conditions, the Osage Orange thrived. Its roots went deep, finding water where corn died. It creates a dense canopy that slows wind speed near the ground better than almost any other species. We had tried to kill it, but when the sky turned black with dust, it was the Osage Orange that held the land together. So what makes this wood so supernatural? The answer lies in its density and its chemistry. We measure wood hardness using the Jonah hardness test, which records the force required to embed a steel ball halfway into the wood. White oak, the standard for strong wood, has a Jonah rating of about 1,360 pounds of force. Osage Orange clocks in at approximately 2,760 pounds of force. It is more than twice as hard as oak and significantly harder than hickory or maple. It is one of the very few North American woods with a specific gravity typically exceeding 0.85, meaning a green log will sink to the bottom of a pond and stay there. But hardness is not its only trick. The bright yellow orange heartwood is packed with a unique antifungal compound tetrahydroxy stilbene with hydroxyl groups at positions 2, 3, 4, and 5, abbreviated THS, making it incredibly resistant to rot. Yet despite this natural invincibility, Osage Orange and other durable native woods were systematically pushed out of the fencing and lumber markets. In 1933, the trajectory of American timber changed forever. An inventor named Santi Camisum patented chromated copper arsenate, known in industry as CCA. This toxic chemical bath allowed cheap, fast-growing pine to temporarily resist rot. The business model was undeniable. If a farmer sinks an Osage Orange post, it lasts a century, resulting in no repeat sales for 3 generations. If a lumber yard sells treated pine, it rots within 2 decades, generating recurring revenue every music generation. But this industrial shift came with a severe health cost. Over the decades, it became apparent that CCA-treated wood was leaching arenic into soils, groundwater, and playgrounds, raising cancer risks. In late 2003, the Environmental Protection Agency officially banned CCA for residential use. However, the lumber industry simply switched to new chemicals. Today, we pressure treat pine with toxic copper azole to poison the fungi. That copper still leaches out, and the wood eventually rots. Osage Orange, on the other hand, pumps its own organic fungicide, defying decomposition for a century or more. For the modern homesteader or ancestral gardener, the Osage Orange is a resource of immense value. It grows exceptionally well across USDA zones 4 through 9, tolerating poor soil, heavy clay, and extreme drought. If you want to plant it, you likely will not find it at a standard big box garden center. You must either forage the fruit or purchase seeds from specialty native plant nurseries such as Tree Help or other native seed suppliers. In the fall, you can sometimes find the hedge apples on the ground. To get the seeds, place the fruit in a bucket of water and let it freeze and thaw outdoors over the winter. The fruit will rot into a slurry. In the spring, mash the slurry to separate the seeds and plant them directly in rows in well-draining soil. Be warned that the thorns on young trees are vicious, though thornless male cultivars exist if you can track down a specialized nursery. Today, the Osage Orange is experiencing a quiet renaissance. Custom furniture makers in traditional hours pay an absolute premium for seasoned staves of the wood, but for the most part, it remains a ghost in the fence row, burned in massive piles to clear land for more corn. The Osage Orange teaches us that true resilience does not come from a factory. It comes from the soil. It is a reminder that the trash trees we bulldoze are often infinitely superior to the products we buy. If you are ready to stop renting your infrastructure from the industrial system and start growing it, give this video a like and subscribe to Ancestral Yields. See you in the garden.